Welcome to Have You Read Any Good Books? I'm Mavis Applewater, and joining us today is S. Ann Gardner, whose books are incredibly, well, I'm going to say romantic and edgy. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I was looking forward to being here, so very excited. And I like that word edgy.
Edgy, edgy. I feel like I know you because we've been circling in the same universe for a while, a long
Yes,
while, actually.
that's true. That's true.
I was talking to Karen Badger the other day on the phone, and I mentioned that I was going to be talking to you, and she was very excited. And she also has the same feeling. We've all been around this in our genre. It's like, wow, we all kind of travel in the same
You
internet
know,
circle, I guess.
it's funny that you mentioned that because I think early on, and I won't say how many years early on,
That's you could say.
I remember when Karen started writing,
Hmm.
and I remember actually, reaching out to her, and we spoke very briefly, but I loved her work. So yeah, it was good to. I actually saw your interview with her, and it was awesome.
I just did another one with her recently. She has a new, overachiever that she has. She has a new one coming out. Just came out. Sorry. Whoops. Karen and I actually go back for the same publishing houses. Our first two. The first thing we're thankful that they gave us our break, and then Blue Feather Books, of course, our second one. So we have known each other, and again, no need to say how many years, a long time.
That's very true. It's interesting that absolutely true. I feel like I've known you for a really long time, and yet this is the first time that I really see your face, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes people ask, about the writing, and I like to say that there's a little bit of us in everything that we write, obviously, right?
yes,
But I keep reminding people it's fiction.
it
It's
is.
fiction. It's fiction. But yeah, it's you have to be passionate about the things that you do. And when you are, I think there's a part of it that comes through
Right.
with in the words. Um, and that if you don't feel it, then why do it, right?
I had once said to a long time ago, before the contracts and all that stuff happened, to KG, when it stops being fun, I won't do it anymore. And it's fun. I mean, come on. And as you said, it is fiction. Any similarities is purely in our minds. Now, you have also, and you have such a great collection of work. I love your writing. Breath of Scandal, of course, cold and lonely, lovely work of art. Let's get into the edgy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little different from what I usually wrote about, but it's something that really, I don't know, it just, how it is, the words just come, and it's something that I had never really tried to write about.
Right.
And I've always said that I won't write a love scene or a sex scene, let's put it that way, unless it really enhances or does something for the story. And Cold and Lonely Lovely Work of Art is a totally different. It's almost like another world.
It really,
It's like it exists in the underbelly of society, and I really do believe that. Um, but I always also feel that there's something, there's some type of redeeming quality in each individual. And sometimes, just finding that person or just falling in love can change everything in your life, right?
it,
So
I've been
that,
married a long time. You are also married, and that
mhm.
is so true.
Yeah,
In that work, in some of your other work, I almost feel like the moments of the characters goes almost have a heartbeat, a pulse to them, a
thank you.
certain rhythm, like a dance.
That's a really good way of putting it. It's absolutely true. I think that for me, oddly enough, my stories always started with the title, which is kind of people say, really? And I say, yeah, yeah. That's how I kind of build my story around a title and a scene that may not even be in the beginning, maybe in the middle. So I have to build the beginning and then the after, because that scene is what, what I see and what gets me. But I'm writing a story now, and I have to tell you, and this speaks a lot about how we as writers evolve too, is that I have this incredible story in my head that is swirling around and around and around, and I don't have a title. So it's driving me crazy right now.
Oh, so that's new for you.
Yes, it is.
Well, and if I look away, it's I in addition to the high-tech post-its I use, I have notes. So I just want to but that the inspiration comes and it authors. And for those of you who are thinking about doing it and you've got this story that won't let go, welcome to our world.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, here's a confession. The first story I ever wrote, I still haven't put it out.
Really?
Yeah, it for some reason it's something that I hang on to. Uh, I lived and breathed and slept and showered and whatever, everything with these characters. And it took me two books to shake it off. And maybe that's what, that's what gets us all to writing, right? Is that story that, just goes on in your head.
Mm.
But oddly enough, it's the story that I still have never even thought about publishing. Eh, what can I tell you?
They don't always have to publish them. It's sometimes they're just there.
Maybe
Sometimes,
it, maybe you do, maybe we do it when kind of we're ready, I guess.
yeah.
Oh, so yeah,
Because once well, the process to get it to publish, that's the steps, because by then you've written it, you've rewritten it, you've had it edited, you've had the beta reader go through. It's so many times you've visited these characters. And I often find that I hate them by the time it goes into bridge. Because then you get on the merry-go-round where you have to go do readings. You know?
that's a whole another can of worms for
Yes.
sure.
And I don't know about you. I didn't realize how incredibly let's say graphic my work could be until I was sitting in a room and it was a limited turnout, when you're reading some of that stuff. It's like, oh, yay. That's just really didn't realize how naughty that is until now, until right now.
That's really funny because we as writers just we get involved in the process writing. The story just kind of comes out, whether it's slowly or very quickly sometimes. But I once was asked to do a reading at college where my sons were still a part of. And they were very supportive and they were there in the audience and all that. And it was, in this case, it was a book of poetry
Oh.
that I wrote. The only one, and that's enough. But but I was asked to read two poems.
Mhm.
And for me, they were like incredibly, as we as writers, we're in love with the work, right?
Well, yeah.
So I start reading it, and it was awesome. And then all of a sudden, I start to realize who's in the audience. And it was, I got to tell you, we'll never do it again. We'll never do
Right.
it again. It's just some things that, come out of a story naturally, but um, yeah, no,
Oh,
nope, 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 nope.
no. And family is, love my family and don't necessarily want them listening or reading this stuff ever. Now,
Absolutely.
your family is very important to you. I do know that.
Yes, it is. I always say that I've always said my children have made me human.
Oh,
And
wow, that's a great way to put that.
and my wife has kind of made me want to change so that I could create something totally different for us, a totally different family for us to live in. And so yes, absolutely. It's a
Eh,
it's like, it's my world and then the world.
Right.
yeah.
And your world includes more people than at one time, I guess it.
I mean, it's like I definitely have barriers,
Hmm.
or I really do. It's That's why S.N. Gardner is my pen name.
Hmm.
And this kind of started because when I started writing, it was not necessarily the most friendly of times
Right,
to be writing, our alternative fiction. Our two youngest were little, young kids,
right,
young boys, and I've always, and I always say, I chose to live as I do with a person that I love and create a life for us that is something that is beautiful to me. But I was also very aware that I didn't want anything or anyone to hurt our children. So
right.
that was a very fine line to walk to walk. Um, But since then, of course, our children have grown, and it's a totally different way of living for us. It's more freeing, but I always resent the fact that I don't feel like I can walk down the street holding my wife's hand. And it's not that I'm not proud to, it's that I don't know how people are going to react, and that's also something that unfortunately I think everyone is living through right now.
Yeah, I think
But
we had a gap where we could, and now
yes,
we can't
yes,
again.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So
I hate that. I really hate. You have traveled a lot. You've lived in different countries, and do you think that has inspired you?
yes, I think so. There are some books that are totally in that particular country. I think For the Love of a Woman took place in
Oh, great
Venezuela.
book. Oh, I love that.
I lived there, so it was, yes. Although you changed the names, there were a lot of things that were happening. A lot of the political aspects were
Right.
going on. I really did live through all that. It was easier to write when you can reference a place or even the way it feels or the noises, the colors. It all makes a difference. It really does. Uh, and I think you can tell. You can tell. I mean, you can research, but you can't really see a particular color of sunset unless you've actually seen the particular color of sunset.
And especially something like what was going on in Venezuela at that time.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's something you could feel, you could taste. It's in your soul at that point.
I actually lived through the political unrest that actually occurred in the story. It was,
Yeah.
I was actually there.
Wow.
And The only thing that was different, and somebody did reach out to me and say that no one really owns oil. It's all like done through the government, but I can tell you, uh-uh.
Yeah.
There's always, they're always owners of
Hmm.
things and so on. But that's what made that story, I think, special for me.
It was a
I
really
always,
good story. It was
yeah,
really good.
I love that story. Yeah,
But
definitely.
a lot of the stories. Oh, you're with Infinity Rainbow, the publication. I
Yes.
love this guys, and I didn't realize I had recently spoken to Annette Moray.
Oh wow. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
and
We're both with Affinity for sure. Yeah.
I didn't put it together when I had invited the both of you. And she was talking about AAA storytelling. And I said, "Oh, well, let me go take a look at her podcast with her and Allie Spooner. Love Allie, she's
Yes.
such a doll." And I get over there, and who do I see but you? So, in addition to the links to your Facebook page and to your publisher's page with you on it, where you can find S. Ann Gardner's books, I'm going to link. You do a reading as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, need to check it out, folks. But I was like, oh, well, look at that. I'm talking to her. And I found this like on Wednesday. I was like, talking to her in a couple days. Great. That
Yeah.
way,
We had a great time doing that.
well,
That's
Annette,
good.
and Allie are awesome people, and everyone over at Affinity. I think I kind of met Annette because I was at a conference and I was going over to say hi to Renee McKenzie, who was also a Blue Feather Girl when that was in when that was still in business. So, and that was such a special experience, like Affinity is for you guys, that
Hmm.
we all still stay in touch with each other. So I went over.
Absolutely. It's a big world, but at the same time, it's a very small
Oh,
one. Yeah.
that's what I used to say about you're on the East Coast as well, about growing up in the lesbian community in Boston. It was Boston's a very big city, but a very small community.
And I think I wrote about that too, because Boston is an incredible place, and it's surrounding areas, and I mean, it's a different experience. It's like when I think you describe any city or
Right.
even a restaurant, and I mean, thoroughly love Boston. I
Oh.
especially love the when I went there. I was told that there's this street, and forgive me that I don't remember the name, but there are different window on certain window panes that the glass is pink,
Mm-hmm.
and why it was pink, and it's in different areas depending on the house. And someone told me, and this could be,
Oh,
a,
crap.
a story out of, but it was all when it was built. It was built in such a way where as the sun came up a certain way, as it moved throughout, so did the pink hue inside the house, inside the homes. That totally blew me away.
Oh
I could
yeah.
love a city
And
that
that's
does
gonna
that.
bother me all through this interview that I'm gonna be trying to remember the name of that. No, I loved it because one of my favorite things, like on my birthday, is we would take the uh, the the tea into and go to the Gardner Museum,
Yeah,
just hang out there, and then hop back on and go to the North End and have dinner afterwards.
it's
Because
amazing.
yeah, it was just that was birthday for me, just because the Gardner you could just go and sit.
It's an amazing city, and people get a chance, just stop by for a little bit. It is
Oh,
truly special. Yeah.
I mean, it has its downsides, of course.
Well,
Yeah,
as with everything and everything in life, right?
yeah, it's so true though. Okay, let me guess. My high tech notes here. And I love this. I'm reading this and it says that you worked in the world, or working, or worked in the world of finance. Is that?
I have
I was trying to make it.
everything for me is spread out.
Uh-huh.
I think that depending on the book is what I I'm working at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I don't know. It's depending on where I'm comfortable is where I'm at that
Right.
moment. I believe in diversification. Um, I don't, and maybe that's because I'm Cuban, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So always what we learned leaving Cuba was that everything you could lose everything could be taken away from you, but what is in your mind, nothing can ever take away.
Right.
So it's always on building and building and building. And yeah, I mean, I think I dabble in a little bit of everything.
Well, that and how you enter being from Cuba in itself, how you enter different countries mattered, wet feet, dry feet, and all that crap,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
had to have influenced your life and your writing style and everything. And I can't even imagine. Like I said, I grew up in Boston. Yeah.
I mean, I think that once you leave where your comfort zones, in the beginning, it's always a little bit uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but if you embrace change, I think can be a wonderful thing, whether it's a language or a culture or just architecture. I can tell you that depending where you're living, architecture is incredibly important.
Oh yeah.
So of course, people from different places. I've always said that no matter where you are, you will. You will meet good people and you will meet bad people.
Right.
So there's no clumping things together.
Yeah, I mean, in my youth, there was throw it in the backpack and go, and given the chance to, everyone was like, "You guys left the East Coast." It's like, yes, because they were having a baby, and now we're grandmas. So let's get back to A Breath of Scandal. Came out October-ish.
Yes, around the end of October, beginning of November, something along
Also,
those lines.
also an excellent read, and you get to hear you read from it if you pop over to AAA Storytelling, which linked down below. Got the artwork behind me below the Beatles, where we put everything. But uh, what's on the horizon? What do
It's
you?
this, honestly, it's this story that is just keeps whirling around in my head, and what's giving me a hard time is the title. And I tell you, we spent the holidays in the Keys,
Oh,
the
nice.
Florida Keys, and I went and we had a great time. Lisa and I, we went, met some friends down there. And I had never gone to the tip where they say you can see Cuba from afar, like because it's only like what, 90 some miles away. And I didn't think I was going to get emotional. And I honestly really did.
Oh,
So out of that out of that experience, it's where the story is whirling around. We loved being down in the Keys, and it was just wonderful. And that's probably where my next story is going to be coming from.
so
Yeah,
from the tip, you could see from afar. You saw where you began.
yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
yeah, and the funny thing is that I think that speaks, and hopefully will speak to a lot of people, is that there are moments in our life that we don't expect certain reactions from, that we think that we have put things away or placed them in a put them in a place where you can look at them and they can not necessarily impact you or make you feel any kind of pain in a certain way, and then you're faced with them and you're totally unprepared with that wave of emotion. And then what do you do with it? Because usually what happens when you're hit with a wave, everything gets out of control. I mean, literally everything.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm looking forward to putting down on paper.
putting down being the being hit by a wave, as it were.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, if romance or storytelling went, they met, they fell in love, they lived happily ever after, that's not a story. That's an anniversary card to your wife there.
Kind of.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, the end. Angst is what it's all about. And that's where we get into a little edgy at times. But I did sneak over and I saw the podcast. I had not realized that the very thought of you was your wife asked you to write a romance, just a nice romance. Can you do that for me, honey?
Yeah, I mean, she says that everything is always so, so many things happening and so many hurdles to jump and all that. And she goes, "Can you just write me a simple romance?" And that's as simple as I could make it. So the very thought of you is for her. Yes.
And it's a song from a song.
Yes, it is.
See, I'm old enough to know that. That's sweet. We are inspired with that. But it's like, yeah, but if it's not any hurdles, but it is an awesome book. And it's such a kind of a love letter to her now that I see that and know that. It's like, oh, that's adorable.
And and it isn't that they didn't have things to get over. It's just that it's less than what I usually write.
They weren't trying to take over the world. And
Kind of, yes. Yes, it was nothing like that. So, yes.
so, do you have a favorite out of your books? We've got The
Mm.
Beloved of a Woman, Worlds Collide,
I
Code.
tell you, that's a good question. I actually do have one, and it's the one that takes place in Spain. Um, that's where my family
Oops.
originally comes from, and so it was very special for me. It's Till There Was You,
Ah, oh, another song
and
title. Love it.
yeah, I mean, there's almost so much inspiration from songs.
It really
So,
is.
but yeah, that one was really special for me in that respect. That I brought them from the U.S. to Spain and to what happens there, certain parts of the year, the celebrations, and so on. And it was just how do we address the, I guess, and what's in the middle of the room that nobody wants to talk about, and what
Right.
happens. And I think we've all kind of gone through that. And
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah, so that one, yeah, that was near and dear. So
Till
yes.
there was you. I always like to find out because we all in the moment. The one I'm working on now is usually my response on this. The one I'm working on now. What authors pick out is the one that resonates the most with them, and it's not always the one the fans would say.
Yes, true enough. But I got to tell you that the one that I found the most challenging and I really, really loved writing was Cold and Lonely, lovely work of art. Because for me, it was such a different direction.
Right.
So in that respect, and how to come up with this and how to put in so many other details. Someone also told me once, well, why didn't you just, there, sometimes you just leave so many things unanswered. I said, well, that's kind of life. We don't always know what happens, and some things we never know the answers to. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Uh, and when you're dealing with uh, your characters, they don't always know what happens next or what had happened next. It's like that there you go. That's what
And in many ways, A Breath of Scandal is that there's so many interactions on things that take place. There's so many layers. And I like to even the writers, even the reader, I should say, kind of keep in those layers where they really don't see until, obviously towards the end or certain parts happen and they're like, oh, so that's what this was. And that's a great part about writing, isn't it? That you kind of build a world within a world, and it's really awesome.
I love the way, and it's just what you said, that it's kind of like peeling back the layers, that
Hmm.
your work tends to reveal things for us. So it's the anticipation. And I think that people are going to get that with Breath of Scandal. I know that they're going to get that with Breath of Scandal. It's like, oh, you're going on a ride and enjoy the journey.
And I think that um, the people that you fall in love with are not perfect people. Neither is I guess in some ways the protagonist is not a perfect person. And there are times where they may not be very likable, but that's also real life. We're not always very likable in every moment or every aspect of our life. So there's always also the challenge of how far can you go? And is is there ever uh, a place that you cannot come back from? And I like to sometimes push that
Hmm.
to as far as I can get it, because in many ways, the hurdles that we jump really give us the answer to where we want to be. It's not always easy to be in a life that you want.
No,
There are always hurdles to be jumped. So,
it is realistic to show people as and as three-dimensional people flawed.
mhm.
Do you worry that they're too flawed at that time? I haven't found that with your characters.
I mean, an argument could be made that I like to think that most of my characters are flawed. as most people are flawed.
Exactly.
There are some that, depending on where they're at, or the power that they wield, or the choices that they make, kind of make them, how hard is it to come back from something that is really horrible or really terrible? And I think that in many ways, someone can always love us, no matter how bad we can be, in the hopes that there is something to be found that can be saved, if that makes sense.
I think it does. So,
So
how mu- how many titles are in print right now?
I think that nine,
Nine.
nine,
Okay.
10,
Okay.
nine,
Well,
10.
we will have the links. You folks investigate for us. Uh,
The,
and you're.
the interesting thing about this book, Mavis, is that I started it 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and I kind of just stopped writing for a while, and then there was writer's block too. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
But somebody asked, why did you take such a long time to start, to finish up, to start writing again? And my answer is, sometimes life just gets in the way, you know. And as with everything, and even with the stories that we write about, right?
mhm.
You have to make choices. And sometimes there are things that at the time are more important to focus on.
Right.
So I'm really happy and proud of this book because I got it finished. I got it out.
Cut It Out is a wonderful book. It
Thank
really,
you.
really, really is. I've always loved your work, and we're going to put the links below. People go out and see it, and hopefully we'll be seeing. Now, do you have any audio out yet? Because that's everyone asks that now.
Um, I think I do. I have to be honest with you. I have to reach out to Julie and ask.
Oh,
I know that it's on Kindle. I think it might be recorded, but I'm not sure.
so yeah, check out Infinity Rainbow, folks, because they will tell you if and is in audio or not.
There you go.
Sign up for the mailing list there, and they will let you know. Uh, we're running a little short on time, and thank you so much for joining me. It's nice to actually see you after all these years. And thank you everyone else for stopping in. Feel free to click like and subscribe. And thanks again. Again, the current book is A Breath of Scandal, but there'll be more coming soon, I hope. And check out the links in the description below. Bye.
Thank you, Mavis. It was great to see you.